What does it mean when we say to somebody, you should isolate, when they live in a one-roomed home with 6 other people?
How will COVID-19 affect the future of my children?
Are we ready for the next pandemic?
When COVID-19 hit, it hit us bad. We've got learners who lost their parents. Now we have the child-headed families. I've got a learner in grade 12. She lost her mom. At home, she has to become a parent, and I can see that it's really affecting her. I am a teacher with chronic illness, but I had to be there, knowing that I'm just taking a huge risk with my life. But thanks God, I made it this far.
Quite early on in the pandemic, I got infected myself. I had been fighting viruses my whole professional life, and here a virus got me. It makes me more determined to stop it and to do something about it. We now need to think through what are the long-term impacts, because it's hugely complex. If you're a political leader, a decision maker today, it's not easy.
We're doing the convergence for the HIV run.
Okay, so you're doing vital loads.
Yeah.
COVID-19, by its very nature, puts a huge pressure on the healthcare services. When we go into a wave, the cases rise rapidly, the pressure on oxygen supplies, on ICU facilities, all of that comes under huge pressure. In COVID, it became a really serious problem.
We need to accept the fact that this virus will be with us for a long, long time. From epidemic, it becomes endemic. Therefore, we need to look at it from the perspective of different parts of the world. One of the sad impacts of this pandemic has been to exacerbate inequalities that already exist.
In March last year, the government declared that the schools will be closed.
The parents have not enough resources to help their kids, and the most worrying factor is we didn't have any access to internet or technology.
This virus was now shining a very bright light on one of our great inequities, and that's access to data. So what are we seeing here?
So we're looking at our blood sample
Yeah.
here, and we're looking at the cells and the count for
Okay.
the cells.
Let's look at that. Our efforts to stave the spread of the virus in schools was actually doing quite a lot of harm. They were no longer getting their once-a-day meal. They were not getting any education. Now we were going to get a whole generation of students who are now 1 year behind.
In November 2020, the International Science Council convened a number of people to look into the longer term. Not only the health aspects, but also economic impact, social impact, governance, societal impacts. 80 people have been involved in this all over the world. What we're trying to do is not to predict the future, but to see likely scenarios.
You can't map out a pathway with the milestones if you don't know what your destination is. The problem is, if you map out a destination, you're not sure about whether that's the likely destination. And that's why it becomes so important for us to think about that long-term vision.
We've been looking at it through the lens of the health clock and what are the determinants, the virus itself, social policies, public policies, how people react. All this is a project that will paint a picture of where we're going and what the impact is of decisions we take today in terms of long-term scenarios. We know in epidemics it is act now or pay later.
We've learned that by understanding our interconnectedness, we can protect others. We can protect ourselves. Science gives us among our strongest weapons against this kind of threat.
teaching is a calling. There are times when you just say, no, I'm fed up. But then you wake up the next day, you say, but now if I don't help them, who's gonna help them? You are the one who can help. You have to be there for them.
How do we learn all of the bitter lessons from COVID-19? How do we need to respond as a world so that no one is left behind?
If this epidemic has taught us one thing, is that it's not over anywhere until it's over everywhere.